Okay. Let's see. I think I'm streaming, but let me just double check. Let me check the audio. Can I hear myself? No? Okay. Is the audio on? It looks like it could be getting audio. I'm just not hearing my own audio. Okay, hold on. So, can I hear myself now? Yep. There we go. Okay. Sweet. How's it going, Chan? Guys, are not following our friend and mod Chan the Matchman. Please give Chan the Matchman a follow. All right, I've just had a crazy 2 weeks, and I don't know. I don't need to have like a Seeker of Weird. Welcome in. How's it going? Guys, are not following our friend Seeker of Weird. Please give Seeker of Weird a follow. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be getting a Hades run in today, but I plan on talking about my last 2 weeks, and if we run up to time to start Sleight of Hand Sunday, I'm gonna start Sleight of Hand Sunday. I don't want a shout out. I want the tea. Oh, I see. Crazy 2 weeks. Yes. Welcome in, Bert. How's it going, Gibson Lens? Guys, you're not following Gibson Lens. Please give Gibson Lens a follow. The tea. All right. Hold on. We're going to go ahead and give a glance at the tea. It is, and I needed it today. It is the indigo punch that I so choose. And so here is the tea, and you can pretty much see that it is blue. So it is indigo. But anyway, so it all started about 2 weeks ago, and that that looked so good, but I meant the story. Oh, haha. Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. Started about 2 weeks ago on Monday, and this was Monday the it was the 29th, the last Monday in June, and my kid was supposed to go to school, which she did, and then I got a phone call from my wife saying, "Hey, I've been trying to call you. The school called me to tell me that my kid was crying and couldn't be stopped." Barney of the Rubble, welcome in. How's it going? We can get to that request later when Sleight of Hand Magic starts, but right now we're going to be talking about all the things that happened in the last 2 weeks. So my kid was crying uncontrollably, and when I heard what happened, she got a splinter, and the splinter, she was playing with popsicle sticks, which they were letting all the kids play with popsicle sticks. And I guess she was holding the popsicle stick in such a way that she got a splinter lodged in her thumb. And I'm just going to provide a slight warning now because I'm going to show the picture of the splinter in the thumb. And if that makes you potentially queasy, this is probably a good time to turn away. And so, here we go. I'm going to show the splinter in the thumb. This is your warning. Turn away. All right, so here is the splinter in my kid's thumb. And I was like, what? So it was actually pretty big. I did not expect it to be that large. And I was like, holy crap, how the heck do I get this out? And I either had to remove it there or take my kid home. Um, and so, thanks for thanks for the hugs, Bert. And so I was like, oh crap, what do I do? So I asked my kid, hey, do you want me to take this out and then you stay at school, or do you want to come home? And she was like, I want to go home. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then I decided I'll just keep her home the rest of the day because I don't know how distraught she was going to be. So I sat her in front of the tablet, just put on something, and I basically pulled out all the tools. There was like three tweezers, and then I was like, it's super in there. And I was like, I don't want to like get a knife or a scalpel or anything, but I basically got a pair of fingernail clippers, I tried my best to sterilize it as best as I could, but and after about a half an hour's worth of work, I finally managed to get enough of the thing out, and I was able to grab it with a pair of um, tweezers, and then I pull it out. And in retrospect, I think I pulled it out the quote unquote wrong way, but I mean, regardless, you just had to get it out, right? Because she was like, "Ow, ow, ow, it hurts," and I'm like, "Okay, that's okay, but we have to get it out," and so we got it out. And now I'm going to be showing a picture of just the splinter, and it's pretty gnarly. There's nothing really. This is not graphic. This is way more tame compared to the other picture, but this is the splinter after I pulled it out. So if you can imagine on her thumb, yeah, I pulled that out. I was like, "What? That's actually kind of big." I was actually surprised. But anyway, so yeah, secret. Poor kid. Yeah, I know, right? Kyo Demon, welcome in. How's it going, Kyo? Good to see you. I'll have to apologize ahead of time, Kyo, that I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit in a Hades run today. I'm going to be talking about my last 2 weeks, and if that brings us to Sleight of Hand Sunday time, then we will just start Sleight of Hand Sunday. But anyway, guys, we're not following our friend Kyo Demon. Please give Kyo Demon a follow. Welcome in, guys. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful week. I haven't even begun this week yet. So okay, going back to last week, jump to Thursday. My kid was out of school for half a day on Monday, then went to school on Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday she had off, and Friday she had off because observing of July 4th. And on the 3rd, our neighbor was hanging out outside with her grandpa, and they saw us and was like, "Hey, do you want to play?" And so the kids played for a little bit, and the neighbor asked if they could jump in our pool, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." My kid didn't necessarily want to jump in the pool, but I was like, "That's fine. They could jump in the pool." And when they came over, I asked, "Oh, hey, do you want a floaty?" Because the neighbor kid is younger than mine, and my kid doesn't know how to swim without a floaty. And so, and Grandpa was like, "No, I'll hold her." And I was like, "Okay, that should have been a red flag to me." And then I started scooping some stuff because I have an outdoor pool, so literally 100% of the time there's stuff falling into the pool, and so there's always like tree debris, bugs, that kind of thing. And so they get in the pool, and over there I'm actually still scooping stuff out, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, watch out. This is where the part of the pool, the shallow end starts to go down to the deep end. And we have a pretty deep end. It goes down to like 10 feet on the deepest. But I don't know what he was doing because he was holding his kid and walking towards the slope. And then as he's on the slope, he asks me, how deep does your deep end get?" And I'm like, 10 feet. And I don't even get the words 10 feet out before his head falls under. I see the neighbor kid's head go under, and I'm like, "Oh, I have to jump in." And so I had enough sense that my phone was loose. I put the phone out on the side of the pool, and then I jumped in, and I basically got over to them as fast as possible, and I picked up the kid and was holding the kid over water for a bit, and then Grandpa stood back up, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I slipped," and I'm like, I I didn't want to say that I warned you, but like I did. And so, OMG, the seeker of weird. I know. So, um, and so I'm glad that I jumped in. I don't know if he said Grandpa said that it would have been fine. He got up, but I'm like, nah, head underwater. No, I'm gonna jump in. So anyway, got her out of the pool, and they kind of basically say, "Oh, okay, it's." Grandpa says it's probably time to go home, so they they basically dry off and go back home, which it's literally next door, so it's not really that far. And I was like, I was getting ready to take my kid to a library program to play board games, and now I'm soaking wet in not bathing suit clothing, and I'm like, ugh. And not only that, so luckily my phone wasn't in my pocket because I said that I took it out. But the thing that was attached to me was my keys, which most keys are fine, but car keys have fobs with batteries, and I'm like, ugh, okay. Good news, I had a backup key fob, and so what I did was I took the key fob that was on me. I have like a can or like a bottle. It's like a big bottle that had like crackers and stuff in it that's like plastic and it screws on. I I collect things that they say do not eat. So basically all the desiccant that I get from like furniture, shoes, or basically anything, I shove it in there. And I'm like, okay, I grab my key fob and I stick it in there. I'm like, all right, I'm not using that key. I'm not touching it for a few days. And I grab my other backup key fob, which happens to be I know where it is, so I grab that. Barney says, "Can you play Wind Beneath My Wings and retell the part where you jumped in?" Oh, thanks, Barney. I will imagine. The other thing you could probably imagine is Chariots of Fire as I was jumping in. That would probably be the other one. Good idea though, Barney. I like that. So, um, so yeah, once I did that, and then I rinsed off really quick and put on brand new clothes and took my kid to board game night. And that was Thursday, July 3rd. No, July 2nd. Um, and then kind of uneventful for the rest of the night. Board game night was a success. And then come Friday, July 4th, no, Friday, July 3rd, family decides to stay up late to go watch fireworks. And we forget to bring the bug spray. So here we are sitting like it's in a place where everybody just sits in their car, but we open up the trunk and we're all exposed. And it was really hot, but I wore shorts and a t-shirt, and so did my kid. And my wife, I think, had pants on, so she was slightly spared. But by the end of fireworks, we had a good time. It wasn't too crazy. I counted up all the mosquito bites that I got, and we counted up all the mosquito bites that my kid got. And between the two of us, we collectively got over 30 mosquito bites. I myself had 16 that I could account for. And yeah, it was very itchy next couple of days. So that was July 3rd into 4th. Yeah, Huma over 67 mosquito bites. Yeah, welcome in Huma. And Huma, was that? Thank you for the bits. 6-7. Yeah. Barney of the Rubble says, "I've had more snake bites in my life." Sorry, I had to read that with like, "I've had more snake bites in my life." Right. There is a guy. I don't know him, of course, but there was a guy that was in the news like years ago that basically was immune to snake venom because he lived around snakes his entire life. I guess tamed them, and he was bitten so many times with low doses that his body just learned how to deal with it. And so when he got a snake bite from like the snakes like near where he lives, he was fine. Like Barney said, "Crikey, I've had more snake bites." Yeah, crikey. Um, yeah. So that was that week. Okay, so now the weekend settles in, July 4th, July 5th, and I get a text from my buddy, and he has moved away. He said he was going to be around for another week, but he actually didn't. He moved out of town to a place that is like, I think it's like 300 or 350 miles away. It's basically like a 6.5 hour drive. So pretty much not hanging out with him IRL much anymore. But when he and his wife and his family left, they did it in such a hurry that there was still a bunch of stuff left at their house here locally near where I live. Bay JMB, welcome in. How's it going, Bay? Good to see you. Guys, you're not following our friend BayJMB. Please give BayJMB a follow. BayJMB, fellow magician on Twitch. Yeah, so I'm telling the story of my last 2 weeks. All right, so, oh yeah, right now is when the past week starts to get a little crazy, and I was like, WTF, what is it up with this entire week? And so, my friend that moved away, so we'll just refer to him as friend who moved away, or moved away friend, um, just for the rest of the story. So, I don't want to like dox anybody, but moved away friend, and so he had to come back because his house still had a bunch of stuff in it, and he had to get it all out, put it in a U-Haul, vacuum, and get the closing. Gibson Lynn says you can call him Bob. Now the thing is, I don't want to mix up any names, so I might end up calling everybody Bob. But so yeah. But at least friend who moved away coordinated with me, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pick up friend who moved away at the train station because it saves his wife a trip of driving him here and then driving back. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. And then he could actually spend the night at my place. We could play. This is the friend that I play Paper Magic with last time I mentioned, and also this is the friend that has the kid that has hyperlexia. So he's basically the guy that I made my Android app for. So it's pretty close. Huma says nice. Q Demon says nice. And so I was like, all right, cool. So we'll hang out, and then I can help him pack and move on Wednesday. So that's the plan. Huma says, very kind and hospitable of you. Ah, thank you, Huma. Yes, I I mean, he's a close friend of mine. We've been friends since college. Like I was so I on my dorm floor my second year, he was a freshman, and so that's kind of when we bonded because we liked nerdy geeky things. We liked dance games. We liked Magic the Gathering. We liked anime, and honestly, that was like enough. So, but so Monday comes around, and I get texts from three different entities that are not friend who moved away. First one is a text from a couple of friends who are like, "Hey, we're gonna be in town this week. Is there a chance we can come visit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." These are the friends that actually own the U-Beat machine. So if you guys have seen me play the U-Beat machine, they actually own that machine, and so they're in town with their kid, who is like one, not quite one and a half, but a little bit. No, no, actually a little bit older than one and a half, I think. But new kid, relatively. But I'd never met this kid in person because they had moved away. And this year is the 3 year mark, so they said that they would probably want the machine back in 3 years. And so I was like, oh, okay, it's probably about that time. That was the first text I got, and I was like, okay, cool. Second text I got was from my dad. My dad's like, hey, do you have some time later this week for me to come visit? And I'm like, yes, I guess so. There's some other friends, but hopefully we could schedule everything. He's like, okay. Now you have to understand, my dad lives about as far away, probably a little bit further than where friend who moved away is moving, and so it's like an over 7 hour drive for my dad to get here. So I'm thinking, all right, maybe he'll stay for a couple of days or something like that. We'll figure it out. And then third text I get is from a friend in my board game group, and this third text is basically devastating, not necessarily to me, but like to our group and like the dynamic, and certainly to the person who sent the text. But one of our board game buddies is getting a divorce. Um, and I'm not going to go too much into the reasons, and that's not really my place to share, even though I'm not doxing anybody, but like, you know, end of story is that she is divorcing him, and there are reasons that it's totally not his fault, and I'm like, dude, that sucks. and so we felt very bad for him, and we decided, as the board game group, we decided to call emergency board game night on Tuesday night. So, uh, so on Monday, I get 3 texts, and I'm like, "What the heck is going on? Why?" And then on Tuesday, I'm like, "Okay, well, let me just prepare everything." So on Tuesday, I prepare the house. I go pick up friend who moved away, and then I have to explain to friend who moved away, "Hey, instead of doing what we were gonna do was hang out and play paper magic, uh, can I bring you to my friend's board game night because it is an emergency board game night?" And I had to explain to him like about the divorce and everything. Kyo Demon says, "Respect, thanks." And so here I am bringing my friend to somebody else's emergency board game night to help console him about his divorce. The good news is that he at least had met a bunch of them before. Not everybody, but like some of them. So, um, so I explained that to him. He's like, "Yeah, dude, that's fine. I totally understand." And I'm like, "Okay, you know what I need to bring? I need to bring beer because I have a ton of beer." So while I am opening up my beer fridge down here, I'm like, "What the hell happened?" Because as I open it, I see there is brown sludge at the bottom of my mini fridge in my basement. And I'm like, "Why is there brown sludge at the bottom of my mini fridge?" And I determined that it is a beer that exploded in my fridge. And I'm like, "What? No way." And I check all the bottles, and I'm like, they're all fine. Yeah. Huma says melted chocolate? No, no. It was like a stout beer that was probably like flavored like chocolate, but it was actually a can. It was like a large 22 ounce, I think. And I was like, "Why? Nothing has ever exploded." Yeah. Frozen beer. It was indeed frozen, Seeker of Weird. And so I was like, "What the hell is this? How did this happen?" And I thought back, and I'm like, "Wait a second. We did technically lose power a few weeks ago." Charlie's Beats, welcome in. How's it going? Guys, we're not following our friend Charlie's Beats. Please give Charlie's Beats a follow. So I'm like, "What the hell is this? Why did this explode?" And I thought a few weeks ago we did lose power at my house. And the thing is, that's not usually a big deal here because we have a backup generator that it cuts over. My wife and I realized that when we moved in, we lost power way more for like no reason. It would be like a perfectly sunny day and then we would just lose power. I'm like, "That's odd." And at the time I was like, well, I worked from home and so I needed to ensure that I would have power. Yeah, what exploded? Oh, it was like a canned beer in my mini beer fridge. And I was like, so what could have happened was when I lost power, when the generator kicked on, I actually don't know if my mini fridge is on a circuit that gets power. And so if it wasn't, the temperature could have increased and built up pressure. And then when we got main grid power again, because because we couldn't have like a generator that covers everything in the house. We just decided to cover like most things. So I don't know if my mini fridge is on one of the circuits that gets covered by my generator. So yeah, Secret Word says that also happens if you overfill the fridge and it's too close to the cooling element and doesn't have good airflow. That is probably true too. I don't think this happened to be the case though because it's not overfilled. There's plenty of space in between. Um, but good thought, good thought. I do agree with you. Not in this case. There was plenty of space in between bottles and stuff. So here I am, apologizing to my friend, being like, "Okay, I need like 10 minutes to like clean out my mini fridge." I think I needed like 15 minutes. It was that sludgy. Yeah, and I was like, "Okay, I need paper towels. I need a bucket of water." It's like somehow it did get cold enough to freeze, I guess, during that time. But anyway, so maybe I didn't lose power and it didn't get warm. It just maybe froze. Who knows that? Anyway, the can did not withhold, and so I was like, "Oh, this is such a weird thing to happen like right now." So I bring whatever beer I can. I also bring, if you guys remember, I had a 4-hour gig at a cannabis dispensary and I got some gummies. And I was like, "You know what? This is the right time to bring the gummies." So I brought the gummies as well. Charlie's Beat said, we've had diet drinks explode from freezing. Oh, that's kind of crazy, Charlie. I don't have soda in my house anymore, so I don't know what diet drinks do when they're too warm or too cold, but I believe it. I believe it. So I bring friend who has moved away to friends, divorced friends, emergency board game party with cannabis gummies and beer in an attempt to uh, basically continue on with what I had planned to do tonight, i.e., hang out with my friend that was coming over, but then also to cheer up my friend who was getting a divorce. And so, good news, board game night goes great. We played 2 games, and honestly, we did sit and just talk about life for a little bit. I mean, how can you not, right? Um, and this was really surreal because this friend who is divorced, he and I were friends way back in the day when we were both single, trying to meet people. And for a while, he was like the host of, I think the group was like a meetup group on meetup.com, and it was like 20 and 30 somethings. And so I know that some of the parties that he hosted and the people that he had met and the struggles he went through, and I'm like, I was there with him like every step of the way. I was there with him basically when he met his wife, or I guess I don't know if certainly the divorce paperwork hasn't gone through yet, but so yeah, I really felt really bad. I was his best man at his wedding, so it really kind of bummed me out a little bit. It was also one of those things because I am the connection between the two of them. So if I didn't, they wouldn't have met if it wasn't for me. So um, all right, so we decided to end board game night a little bit earlier than I thought. So that was fine. We come back to my place. I still get a little bit of paper magic in with my friend who has moved away before we decide to go to sleep. We planned on waking up early, going to breakfast, and then he had a U-Haul appointment, so appointment to pick up a U-Haul truck at a specific place. And I was like, okay, cool. So we wake up, eat breakfast, and go. Um, we turn in for the night. We end up going to sleep. We wake up, and I'm like, wait a second. I feel an awful lot more rested than I thought I would. And I look at the time and I'm like, oh crap, it's a little bit later. I think we're going to have to sacrifice breakfast because I'm like, all right, I run downstairs. And I was like thinking, oh, maybe he was awake and maybe, he was waiting for me and he was still asleep too. And I'm like, oh, okay. So luckily, we did wake up with enough time to just like get ready and have like a cup of coffee, and then I was driving basically straight to the U-Haul place. Drive the U-Haul place, drop him off. We basically hatch a plan to he's gonna go back to his old house, start cleaning it out. He has to be there also because there are people who are gonna pick up a piano from his house. And I go back to my place because I'm like, oh, my dad is going to arrive. It's now Wednesday. My dad is planning on arriving late Wednesday evening. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me prepare the house. So I do a round of cleaning. And then I'm like, okay, I can go to friend who has moved away, go to his house, help him pack, and we'll see what we want to do. So I go to his place, and I'm just doing a little bit of like moving to mostly consolidate things so that we can see like what is left that needs to get fit into the truck. Um, and then I think we were like, you know, he was like, I could just do this tonight, and we should go do something. And I'm like, because he goes and tells me this story about how he's basically been moving for the last 2 weeks, and he's had to take a bunch of time off of work. And he's like, this doesn't feel like a vacation, and he's using up all of his vacation time. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, let's go play disc golf. And I'm like, all right, let's go play disc golf. Which course do you want to go to? And so we go to the course that's like closest to his house. So we go to play disc golf. And in the first, nice, says Keo. Yeah, that's right. So the first the first nine, we realized that hey, the last time we played disc golf together was on this course about a year ago, shortly after I lost my full time employment. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. That means he has to come back once a year so we could play disc golf on this course um, every year. So, and I guess for anybody who's keeping track, that means I've been out of full time employment for a year. Um, so anyway, there's that. Then we talk about like a bunch of serious stuff, and like I both apologized and thanked him for like being open to coming out and hanging out with a bunch of other guys for board game night to console a friend who's getting a divorce. And then on the back nine, we talk about more mundane stuff. So I tell him about like my father-in-law bringing over a large Fiskar like branch cutter scythe thing, and I was telling him about cutting off branches. This is going to be important in a second. On the next hole, he whales the disc. It hits a tree. The tree is like this thick, so it's like a thick tree. And as soon as he strikes the tree, a branch on the other side falls down and hits the ground. And the branch is like taller than us. So it's a huge branch. We literally just bawl laughing because it's like not only he said, "Man, I've never hit a branch out of a tree," and I'm like, "Dude, we were literally just talking about cutting branches off of a tree," and I was just like, and I know that sounds way too nonsensical that it would not happen, but like, I swear to you, it happened, and if you don't believe me, that's okay. You don't have to believe me. I know it happened. He knew it happened, and we were both there. But it was so hilarious that he hit a tree, the branch fell, and it was right after we were just talking about me cutting down tree branches with with this big the scythe that my father-in-law brought over to my house. And so we'll always have this absolute cinema. I know, right, Keo? So anyway, I guess just to recap my play for Keo, I I was a little rusty. So the first three holes, I was just like well over par. Um, and then after that, I started getting back into the groove. I wasn't doing very good distance wise, but I was just being more accurate. And so um, we did have like one hole in the back nine where both he and I threw like three discs apiece, and we were basically within like putting distance, and we like missed all six discs, and I was just like, "Come on!" And so many of the discs struck like the top of the basket and then fell out. One of them hit the bottom of the basket, but like they all hit the basket and didn't make it in. And I was just like, "Oh man, this is the kind of day." Oh no! I know, right? So, good news, we didn't lose any discs. But then towards the very end, like on the last like three or four holes, we were basically like nailing putts left and right, and I made like a really long putt. I think on hole I forgot 17, I think 16 or 17. It was very close to the end, but not the last one. And it was a pretty hot day, but we made it through. We had a good time and made it back to his place. I could help him for a little bit, and so I started moving some stuff, packing some stuff, consolidating some stuff. We tried to disassemble a table, and we could not remove the legs off the table, which required a socket wrench. But he had packed up all of his tools. And I did have one at my house, but it was getting close to the time in which I had to leave because I'm like, oh, this is the earliest that my dad could possibly arrive at my house. So I'm like, okay. So I had to leave him and be like, all right, man, I'll text you late tonight. If my dad's asleep, I can bring you the tools, and um, we'll go from there. So I get home, manage to get home, make dinner for the family before they get home, and then my dad arrives. So he's like here at about 6 p.m. on Wednesday. I'm telling you the time because this is going to be important to just tell you how ridiculous this week was. So my dad arrives. He gives presents to my kid because my kid's birthday was last week. Actually, it was actually this week. The day that my dad arrives happens to be my kid's birthday. Yeah, she turned 5, and so he was like, uh, he thought that the birthday was like next week or something, and he just wanted to be early. But nope, he is. And I was like, "What? Why did you come this week instead of next week?" And he was like, "Oh, because I have vacation this week and not next week." And I'm like, "Oh, my dad is not retired. He's like over 70, and he's still working." So that's like the first thing. Second thing, I had one of the first things we talk about, obviously, because he wants to ask about my work situation, and I'm like, no, I'm just, you know, I can't find any work. It's a little bit tough right now. I have magic gigs. He hasn't really seen me do magic. He saw me do like a trick once. It was a long time ago. I've obviously gotten a lot better since. But I pulled out a guitar that used to be his guitar, and I wouldn't say I know how to play guitar, but I know a few chords here and there and like a song. So I kind of just play that, and he's like, "Oh, you got the guitar from your brother?" I'm like, "No, no, no, I got it from you." And he was like, "No, no, no, I gave this guitar to your brother." And I'm like, "No, you gave the guitar to me." And I'm like, "How can you explain that I have the guitar and not my brother?" And he was like, "He must have given it to you." And I'm like, "No, you gave it to me." So I don't know how I was gonna convince him that he directly gave me the guitar. But anyway, that's minor. So just to give everybody a little context on the relationship that I have with my dad, he he is not very personable, and I've tried to play this game in the past of see how long I can keep my dad on the phone when I call him. So I'll call him like Christmas, his birthday, and like Father's Day, and that's basically it. And I try and keep him on the phone as long as possible. And like my best time was like 7 minutes to keep him on the phone. And the entire time I wasn't even talking about myself per se for the 7 minutes. So most other phone calls during those times are like 3 to 5 minutes probably on average. So yeah, other than that, I don't really have too much contact, and he just yeah. Also to just fill you guys in, so the immediate family that I have where I'm dad is great. The immediate family where I'm like son, it's is a little bit. I don't necessarily want to put a word out there just in case other family, but I should probably just say it's like it's a shattered family. Like it was kind of depressing growing up. I'll have to tell you guys my life story sometime. But today's not the day because I'm just telling you a story about 2 weeks, and now that we're in this week already. Okay, so Wednesday, talking with my dad. Thank you kindly for the raid. Welcome in, E-Room. How's it going? Guys, you're not following our friend E-Room. Please give E-Room a follow. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome in, Sydney, aka Coco. Welcome in, Peekaboo Draws. Welcome in, Mem Loss. And thank you so much for the raid, E-Room. I see the bang before I hear the bang because the bang's going to happen after the raid song. But how's it going, E-Room? I'm currently recapping my last crazy 2 weeks. Bam! See, I heard it now. Snowy City, welcome in. How's it going? Good to see you guys. E-Room, how's the stream? Hopefully it all went well. So normally I would be playing a game right now, but I've had just an insane 2 weeks, and I was like, I just need to talk about it. And then I just figured it was just gonna take up to sleight of hand magic time, and then we would just jump right into sleight of hand magic after. But anyway, hopefully you're doing well. Good to see you guys. E-Room says level 76 tonight. 6-7? No, 7-6. All right, not a bad round. Nice, nice. Well done. And of course, guys, we have a bunch of streamer friends that just raided in. So of course, if you're not following our raider E-Room Kim, definitely give E-Room a follow. If you're not following Sydney, aka Coco, please give Sydney, aka Coco, a follow. If you're not following Peekaboo Draws, please give Peekaboo Draws a follow. If you're not following Memloss, Please give Memloss a follow. All right. Okay. I think that's that. Okay. So, finished playing disc golf, left, meeting up with my dad, guitar shenanigans with my dad, and then it's nighttime, so I'm like, all right, Dad, what do you want to do? He wants to watch TV, and I have to tell him, oh, we don't have regular broadcast TV. And he's like, oh, yeah, I just wanted to watch like the news or something. And I'm like, what kind of news? And so I tell him, you have to watch like something on YouTube or Netflix or something like that, because we don't have broadcast TV. So for anybody who doesn't know, in order to get broadcast TV, you have to have a digital antenna to get the signal. My TV is equipped with the decryption, so we could decrypt the signal, or we can extrapolate it or whatever, read it. But we don't have the antenna, so and our TV didn't have it built in. I'm assuming because it's just like extra cost, and probably most people don't use it. But so I had to explain to him that that we didn't have broadcast TV, which is kind of funny because my father-in-law is actually in a similar boat where he's like, I just want to watch broadcast TV, and I'm like, you need to buy a digital antenna. So anyway, I just end up putting like martial arts on TV because my dad likes martial arts, and then he ends up showing me his his daily like stretching routine and then some martial arts stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is how I connect with my dad. I just have to bring up martial arts or something. Um, we did get in a game of Chinese chess, which as a kid he would always beat me, and now as an adult, he still continued to win because he beat me as well. So there's no there was no victory there, unfortunately. Um, but So at this point, we were like, okay, it's late, let's go to bed. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll wake up in the morning. And he's like, I was like, hey, what time you want me to wake up tomorrow? And he's like, oh, yeah, how about this time? So I'm like, 7? Okay, let's wake up at 7. So I set my alarm, but as it turns out, I don't know why, but my body was like waking me up at like 6:30, and I'm like, I can't go back to sleep. It's so close to 7. I might as well just wake up. I don't know when my dad's gonna leave. Good thing, because as soon as I go downstairs, we chat for a couple minutes, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go really soon," and I'm like, "What?" So my dad arrives at 6 p.m. and then he leaves the next morning at 7:30 in the morning. So here, I have to remind you, he drove over 7 hours to get to my place, stays for less than 14 hours, then goes back into his car just to drive back home over 7 hours. Sydney, aka Coco, says Chinese chess. Is that different from regular chess? Yes, Sydney, aka Coco. That is different from regular chess. If you would like, let me bring up a visual. So let me see here. If I show and tell, let me see. Let's find. So Chinese chess, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Qianqi or something. But never heard of it, says Sydney, aka Coco. Yep. I believe Chinese chess is older than American chess, or what we would consider American chess. So let's see here. I love Chinese chess. My Chinese teacher taught me in middle school. Oh, awesome, BJMB. Yeah, so I know how to play Chinese chess. Um, Not well, but I can play it. Hold on, let me see. Show and tell. Okay, so here. All right. Okay, so here's probably a good representation of the board and the pieces. So it's played on an 8 by 9. Oh, sorry, 8 by 9. The 9 is vertical because the river is in the middle. And conceptually, um, your king or general and their two advisors or guards, depending on like what theme, have to stay in this little box. The king only moves orthogonal, and then the guards or the advisors just move diagonal, only in this box. You have 5 pawns, and then this is like the equivalent of a rook. This is the equivalent of a knight. This is the equivalent of a bishop, but the bishop only stays on your side of the board and can only move in increments of like two diagonals. And then this one is like a unique piece. This one is the cannon, and so the cannon moves like a rook, but can capture only if it jumps over another piece. And so that's the major difference. So this is Chinese chess. It's called Qiangi. I forget how to spell it. I think it's like Qi. Yeah, it's Xiangqi. BayJB says, I love the cannon pieces and the way the attack. Yes, yep, that is probably the most unique uh, piece as far as like how that goes. But that is Chinese chess. So if anybody's super interested, I could probably go more into details. The other thing to note is that the pawns actually look different on each side because they are denoting, I guess, some character historically. But there is also one additional rule: your two kings can never face directly each other. So I don't know if that means like, oh, you can't like show your face so that the enemy would ever see you or whatever. But that's basically a rule so that you can use your king to um, basically prevent a line of movement, kind of like a rook, but without moving. So, yeah, very cool, says Sydney, aka Coco. All right. Okay, so that's Chinese chess. But anyway, so let me just recap. My dad drives more than 7 hours, stays at my place for less than 14 hours, and then drives back home more than 7 hours. He spent more time in the car getting to me than hanging out with me. And that includes sleeping. We slept during the 14 hours. So I was like, what? Okay, not only that. Okay, check this. So I ask him in the morning before he leaves, like, hey, do you want to have breakfast or something? And he's like, oh, no, no, I'll just have some coffee. I'm like, okay, cool. We can just make some coffee here. Made some coffee, gave it to him. And then I was like, you sure you don't want to eat anything? And he's like, no, no, no. Oh, can I have some hot water? And I'm like, yeah, sure. He pulls out a cup of ramen noodles. And I'm like, okay. So I fill it up and I'm like, do you want to eat it here? And he's like, no, 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 it's too hot to eat here. I'm just going to take it and bring it in the car with me. I'll eat it later. I'm going to get driving right now. And I'm like, it's like, he didn't just want to sit there for like 10 minutes just to just to have it cool and then eat. I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. So anyway, at the end of the visit from dad, um, the whole driving situation. So he was in the car longer than he was at my house, and including asleep at my house. Gibson Len says, "How long is the usual dad visit?" I mean, there's not enough statistics to know. Gibson Lens. There's, I would say, based on the statistics, there is a one night stay. This is probably one of the shortest. Um, at least other times that like he made it, I guess, earlier in the day, but I guess he's always kind of left the next day. But this is like unusually early, I guess. It was very super narrow in terms of time frame window. But um, where was I? Okay, so now we're on Thursday morning. That's when my dad leaves, and I'm like, okay, cool. Uh, I check in with Buddy, who was moving away, who has moved away. He had slept at his house that he was packing up. He he let me know in the morning he was able to fit everything in the truck. The friend that he was possibly going to meet up with for dinner was able to get him the socket wrench, and so they got the table taken apart and put in the U-Haul. And he was like, "All right, it's a miracle, but got everything in the truck and everything's all cleaned up and good to go." And then he had also found out that the closing solidified to be on Friday, i.e., the day after he drove away. So it's a good thing he came to visit, because otherwise there wouldn't have been any time for him to get there and clean the house out. So it was kind of a miracle of timing for him. So he drives the U-Haul back to where he 6.5 hours away, and Thursday afternoon, I'm like, Man, this is like the first time I've had to like think about anything, and it was a school day for my kid and my work day for my wife, and my dad just and I didn't have a very good night's sleep. So you know what I do? I'm like, I'm gonna go back to sleep. So I went back to sleep on Thursday, and I wake up, and Thursday afternoon I'm finally like, oh my god, that was the most ridiculous because like basically all of the time pressured scheduled things have all panned out. They've all happened. There's only one more pending thing, and I'm like, oh crap! My friends who wanted to come hang out because they were visiting town, and I text them, hey, you guys can come over Thursday night, like tonight, or Friday morning or Friday afternoon, because Friday evening we had something to go to, and we were planning on leaving the house probably at like 5:30, and so Thursday is just kind of like I finally get to relax for the first time, and then I was like, I have a slight panic in the evening because I'm like, crap. So divorce friend and I are going to be going to Gen Con this year and meeting up with my best friend, and I'm like, I should probably let my best friend know about the situation. So I ask, I text him and I say, hey, do you have time to hop on a video call later? And he's like, yeah, sure, after this time. I'm like, okay, cool, let's do that. And so we hop on a video call, and I basically explain the situation to him because God forbid that anything happens where both he and I are talking on the phone with our wives in the same room, that divorce friend, and I'm like, that is probably the most insensitive thing that could possibly happen. And I'm like, I just want to avoid that, you know. So I let him know about the situation, and we are he's at least informed, and then we end up catching up a little bit and talking about Gen Con that we're going to be going to in a few weeks. And that's Thursday. I'm like, okay, whew, wake up on Friday, and basically taking care of my kid all day, and I'm chatting with my friends who were going to visit, and they were like, oh yeah, we can come visit a little bit after 4 p.m. And I'm like, oh okay, a little bit after 4 p.m. And we had to leave at like 5:30 ish. So I'm like, okay, and it's like maybe 3:50 on my couch, and my kids watching TV and having like an early um, but I end up dozing off, and then I'm like, oh, okay, nobody's here yet. Okay, I didn't miss anything. I look at my phone, and it's like 4:20. I'm like, oh, what? No way. And so my friends who were coming to visit were later than I thought, and they were like, they texted me shortly thereafter, and they were like, okay, on our way. And I'm like, oh, all right. So they arrive at my house at like 4:40 something, 4:45 maybe, and basically there's no time for chit chat. So I'm like, okay, you want to see the arcade machine? So I bring husband to arcade machine, kind of give him the down low. So everything works when it works, but when it doesn't, it's usually this networking error with this missing cable error. And I show him, he's like, oh, that's weird. And so he opens it up and starts to fiddle. And there's no time for small talk. It's literally like, you know, how's your life? How's finding work? How's your kid? How's living where you live? What's going to happen? Why were you guys here in town? They tell me that they were here in town because the house that they owned, they were renting out, and they discovered that the tenants were smoking in it, and that's against their lease agreement. And so they're like, crap, let's get all of our stuff out of the house. And so they go and get all their stuff from the attic. And wife is pissed because she had like fabrics in there. A lot of stuff, I guess, was in like plastic bags and like sealed bins and boxes and stuff, but not everything. And so some of those fabrics will indefinitely have the smell of smoke on them forever, as well as toys for their, you know, for their kid that's a little bit older than 1.5 now. Um, and I'm like, guys, that sucks. I'm sorry. And they were like, yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen. We're not sure if we're gonna be able to move back here. We're not, and but they said that they didn't want to stay where they were right now, which was in Tennessee. And so they're like, yeah, we have no idea. It kind of depends on where he can find work, husband. So, um, and I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? because I was thinking that they were probably going to ask for it back, but now I'm like, oh, do you guys need me to have custody of the arcade game machine for longer? And they're like, yeah, if you can. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. I did tell them, just as long as I don't have to like leave the house for whatever reason, then the machine can hang out here. It's fine. I will appreciate it. There we go. So after that, so basically after the no small talk, just catch up with everything. They tell me all the stuff that is going on. He gets the machine working again. Um, my wife comes home from work. So here I was entertaining not just them, but their one of their sets of parents. So there's like four other adults and one kid, and I'm trying to juggle all of them while feeding my kid. So yeah, that was kind of crazy. And then we finally go, and this is a relaxing public concert, which was a jazz orchestra, and I just get to sit and listen to jazz music. And then we go home, go to sleep. And then finally, Saturday was the day in which I had some stuff related to like magic gigs that were coming up. I got hired for an October gig, so I'll have a gig in October. But other than that, I yeah, I just kind of drone out. I did have some stuff that I told my family we were going to do together in the afternoon. One of the magician's birthdays was happening, but depending on how the afternoon went, and just the fact that I was mentally exhausted from this entire ordeal, I was like, nah, I can't make it out. Actually, I did clear up, I guess my schedule around 9:30, but the remaining party, if there were still people there, was at a place a half an hour away, and it was at somebody's house that I didn't know, and I'm like, I don't know if they would kick people out or whatever, so I'm like, all right, it's not worth it. I'll have to say. By the way, if that birthday magician is watching, happy belated birthday. Sorry I couldn't make it out. And then today was just a day which I could chill. So we chilled at home. And weirdest thing, my neighbor last night also sent me a picture of what ran through my yard. And yeah, a wolf ran through my yard. So here is a picture of the, sorry, not a wolf, a fox. What did I say? A wolf. I said wolf. It's a fox. So here's a picture of the fox through the fence between my neighbor's house and my house. And then here is the fox actually in my yard. So that's like that door is the side of my it's like a storage room type thing, but it's basically, I call it the pool room because it has like all the pool equipment, so the pool pump and the Huma says, "What did the fox say?" What did the fox say? Yeah. And then here's a shot of the fox's butt. And there we go. Yeah, next, just right, right next to the bushes next to my house. So anyway, that is. So today I do a grocery run, and I did stop in at a Goodwill. And when Magic starts, I'll show you one of the things I picked up at the Goodwill. I also got a gift from my friends who have the arcade game machine. They gave me a gift, so I'll show you that during Magic as well. But other than that, that's it. All right. Well, thank you, thank you for listening to my TED Talk. That was honestly, this portion of the stream was probably more for me and my mental health than really anything. So thanks for listening, guys. And so I'm gonna take a break in a moment, and I'm gonna run upstairs, and then we'll come back, and then we'll start Sleight of Hand Sunday. So let me see. Let me just check a thing really quick. Okay, all right. Gonna be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let me just update the title. Okay, let me do this. Let me change category. Let me hit done, and then I'm going to cut the stream just for VOD's sake. Be back in a second. An ad break is starting soon. I'm going to erase it.